Thank you for joining us here on the Neutral Zone. I am Phil Milani, joined as always by my esteemed colleague, my partner in crime. Really, the best way to describe this person is my everything. It's Aric DiLalla.
Phil, is training camp here yet or what?
Almost. We're about a week away.
Can't wait.
It's a little in the air. Sometimes you can feel like there's like some fresh grass cut.
Yep.
Some mowed
it's
grass.
Swanson's cologne that you're smelling.
Yeah, came out from the woods.
It's Swanson.
De lawn.
Yeah, grass clippings.
Ben Swanson's also here.
I'm here.
In the studio. How you been?
Oh, fantastic.
3 podcasts in a row for Ben Swanson.
Yeah.
Kind of
The
crazy.
streak has never reached this
This
number.
is the pinnacle.
And I've coordinated to wear the same thing each time.
Yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll probably notice that it's been crazy.
I'm wearing
We
my
just-
Thursday pink.
Yeah, exactly. Me too with my pastel blue.
He's got his baby blues on.
Yeah.
Big baby.
Big baby. Today, guys, we're talking about looking ahead to camp. What position battle? The competition's about to heat up. Where are you watching? What are you looking at? What do you want to know? What do you need those answers? What position, Aric? That's what we're talking about here today.
Yeah. Can I go first?
Well, we could just tee it up a little bit here. We're just, we're still
Fine.
setting it up. We're building still here.
Mine is Phil versus Eric.
That's not a competition. This is a partnership.
That's true.
This is
It's a friendship.
this is a friendship. This is the neutral
You
zone.
just created a new training camp competition, though, Swanson, with your
Yeah.
with your rhetoric.
Yeah.
Who's getting the scoops?
Please.
Exactly.
What areas are you sort of interested in paying attention to here a little bit? Obviously, I think the one that jumps out is kicker, wide receiver.
Uh-huh.
Would you say center? Maybe I don't.
Potentially.
Maybe.
Outside linebacker.
Is there outside linebacker? Is there any competition at one of those safety spots?
That's a good one.
There's just some areas where we can look at and say, hey, there's some guys here who are going to be battling.
There's some guys.
There's some dudes.
Defensive end.
Defensive end, yeah. Who's going to be up there alongside Zach Allen, DJ Jones,
Not really alongside him, but
up on the line there.
yep.
So there's some areas, maybe even some backup positions. Not
Yeah.
as sexy to talk about a backup competition.
That was more outside linebacker.
Yeah. But,
Third quarterback.
Yeah. Oh, you think they keep? Do they?
Well,
maybe.
now
There's some rule changes.
the Danucci.
Yeah, the Danucci. He'll either be the third string quarterback or he'll be at Walmart. Right?
That's true. You're referencing Sean Payton's comment.
People listening know what I'm.
Okay. Well, I'm just
they're
making it
in this
clear.
long
Making it
time
clear you're
ago.
not just
Part of
taking
the
a
circle.
shot.
It was a long time
No,
ago.
I'm not just taking a shot. Yes, that's something that Champagne has said. So let's just have we built
a
it
joke,
enough?
to be clear.
It's a joke.
It was a
It
joke.
was a
Yeah,
joke.
it wasn't a blast. It was kind of a blast, but it was also a joke. But it was also a joke. So did we build enough?
I think we built.
We built. Okay, let's just dive in. What are you watching?
Yeah, I think wide receiver to me is
Yeah.
what stands out. Well, just pick something else while I'm
It is.
talking.
Okay, I'm going to pick something else. Yeah, you go first.
Wide receiver, I think, stands out to me. You've got Jerry Jeudy, Courtland Sutton, Tim Patrick, Marvin Mims, who are kind of the four. We call them a core four. They're
Ooh, you
gonna
like that?
they're gonna make it. They're gonna be there.
Yeah.
But then after that, who knows what is going to happen? Obviously, KJ Hamler, second round pick from a few years ago. He reportedly agreed to a contract restructure that could help him make the football team. He's dealt with some injury issues, and a lot of ways Marvin Mims and him kind of seem to have similar traits, similar skill sets. But KJ's obviously going to fight to make this team. You've got Marquez Callaway, who the Broncos brought in from the Saints. Sean Payton.
Does he go by
Quez,
Quez?
I think so.
Yeah.
Sean mentioned that he was kind of dealing with some weight issues during the offseason program, but he's a guy that has experience in his offense, has shown the ability to put up 900 yards. 900? Swanson, fact check. 600.
That's what, like when
6
you're
to 900 yards.
when you're like starting the season, you're like, what are your goals for this year? You're like 900. That's just sort of a class. Like he has shown the ability to get to maybe 900.
Not everybody
yards.
has to be a 1,000-yard guy.
He got to 698
Perfect.
in 2021.
Perfect.
698. So he's like about a 700-yard guy.
Almost.
Just 2 more yards.
2 more.
That's what. That's like on the wall in his room. It's just like 2 more.
2 more. Well, I mean, you got to get 700 more, right? Because if you just get 2 next year, you would just
No, that would not be good. That's why I said more.
That'd be not good.
Well, yeah. So you think he's just got 700 on there?
Maybe.
That's what he wants.
Yeah. And some tubs. Yeah. Anyway, so you got him. You got Lil Jordan Humphrey, good blocker, also came in from New Orleans. And then, Phil, you've got guys that have been here. A Kendall Hinton, who shows his ability to do it all. Punt return option, potentially. Got to beat out Pat Surtain.
Yeah,
Brandon Johnson, big-bodied receiver.
Jalen
Virgil, fast guy. Big touchdown against the Titans last year. So you got a lot of – am I missing anybody?
Yeah, Montreal Washington.
Oh, Montreal Washington. Punt return option. Speedy guy. We probably need to work him a little bit more into the offense if he's going to catch on as a receiver. But a lot of options there at wide receiver. Not everybody's going to make the team. And if that happens, then you've got to make a decision of, okay, well, do you trade somebody lower on the depth chart? Do you feel comfortable with the skill in that room that you could get something for one of the guys higher up in the room? All things to consider. I think you're going to see it play out, not just through training camp, but the preseason. This is going to be a battle that goes right down to the end. And you could see guys, that final preseason game against the Rams, really needing to make an impression to earn a spot on this team.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about like that wide receiving room, I try to think about like what does each guy bring to the table, and then as a collective, what makes it the strongest room possible. This guy does this, this guy does this, this guy does this. When I just look at it on paper, I see 3 guys who are like all very similar to me: Marvin Mims, Montreal Washington, KJ Hamler. They all are of similar stature. They all bring that speed element. They all bring that sort of that, hey, maybe you're doing some end arounds, maybe some stuff in the backfield, special teams possibly.
Have you been around Marvin Mims?
He's big. I mean,
he's bigger
thicker.
than
He's
bigger than KJ in Montreal.
Well,
I would say a not insignificant amount.
Taller too, you think?
He looks bigger.
He's bigger. Yeah, he's definitely thicker than those guys. But I think that you would use him in a very similar type of a way.
Yeah.
The speed factor, he's not a big body guy. Like, he's not going to go up and win these crazy jump balls and stuff. He's not Cortland Sutton, is what I'm sort of saying.
Yeah.
But then I know that Marvin Mims is going to make this team. I mean, the Broncos traded up, used their first pick on him. So, like, I'm really interested to see, okay, they brought in Marvin Mims. How does a guy like Montreal Washington react to that? How does he respond to it? And then also KJ Hamler has been through so much. How's he going to – what's his approach right now, Not able to really do much this offseason. What's it going to be like? What are they going to do out there? How are they going to get seen? I'm really paying attention to that because those guys they kind of feel like they're going to be bringing the same sort of elements to the offense. And then in a different way, some of these bigger body guys, how are they going to differentiate themselves in terms of like, okay, this guy has to be a part of this offense? Because what do you think, 5 or 6, Aric?
Yeah, you would think so. Unless, 7 is the absolute max.
Yeah, I would
5
be
or
surprised.
6 is more likely, especially if you decide you want to keep a third quarterback. Got to take that from somewhere.
There's just a numbers
6
game
is
here.
is a decent starting point.
Yeah. So I do think that
and there's 4 guys that are set in stone, as we mentioned.
Yeah, unless they make a move.
Right.
Yeah, it does feel like Sean Payton will be willing to do whatever he thinks makes his team better. So there's not going to be any sentimental parts of it. I think he remember he was talking about the kicking competition in New Orleans. They had 2 guys go through all a camp, and then at the end of it, they just picked a kicker from a different team. So,
but I mean, we've heard the way he's talked about Cortland Sutton, though, and Jerry Jeudy, though. So I would be shocked if either of those guys were gone. Tim's coming back from an injury, so you would think that.
But you think about his value.
Yeah, I mean, and he's a guy that
You
obviously
need a guy
means
like
a lot.
him. He brings something to that room that the other guys don't really have.
You never write anything off, but I would assume that those three guys and Mims are definitely going to make the roster. And so then you're talking about one or two spots for everybody else.
Yeah. There's some familiarity there with Quez.
Yep.
So that's a factor.
Humphrey's a good run blocker.
Yeah. I mean, just think, there's elements that you're going to want from some of these guys that round out the room. So then you, of course, need some depth. Maybe there's some guys there that you feel like you could sneak onto a practice squad, like a Brandon Johnson maybe. But Brandon Johnson, they might be high on him, we'll have to just see how everything all plays out.
We don't know what these reps are going to look like. We don't know what the targets are going to look like. A lot of things will become more clear here very soon. I would say the thing about the practice squad is that every year teams are, and reporters that cover teams are like, oh no, this guy's going to get, taken away by another team. And then every team has those types of guys where it's, oh, here's 3 receivers that we'd love to keep and we're worried about them getting away.
Star.
And then they end up on your practice squad because every team keeps their own guys. I mean, there's very few, there's some, but a lot of the times there's some waiver claims, but if they're signing back with a practice squad, guys tend to end up where they were.
For whatever reason, wide receiver, there always feels like there's a guy who makes like some crazy catch at practice or like in the preseason, and then you're like, oh, let's keep an eye on this guy. And then all of a sudden their momentum gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you're like that felt like Brandon Johnson last year before he got hurt. It felt like, God, they're going to have to figure out a way to keep this guy.
Well, he would have made the team.
Yeah. But he sort of came out of nowhere last training camp, So I always feel like there's a guy like that at wide receiver.
And, Sean Payton has mentioned when Brandon McManus was released, hey, part of the business is if we can save a few dollars here or there to make another move, we might have to do that. And so, if Sean Payton decides X younger receiver is better than this other guy who might cost a little bit more and we can get the same value there.
Yeah.
That could be a factor if the Broncos decide, hey, we need a little bit more cap room to go get a guy that can make this team better as a whole.
It's a bottom line business.
It is. But yeah, I just think that's a fun position battle to watch, right? Because you can count catches, you can track who makes a big play, who's in the end zone, that sort of thing, who's stacking days. It's easier for us, the untrained eye, to see that compared to, how is this center competition going?
Yeah, exactly. I don't really know it looks like they snap the ball if the snaps are accurate, and then they push.
Yeah.
If you can do both of those things,
you're in a good spot.
Maybe if you got a little bit of versatility, you can get out, pull. If you could pull a little, you got that athleticism. I can notice those things, but in interior, I don't know what's going on in there. You know what's going on?
No.
Swanson, what goes on in there? What happens?
There's some hands,
some technique,
hand stuff.
Yeah,
there's a lot of technique.
Yeah, I don't know what. I couldn't tell you.
Because all those guys are big and strong, so the separation is
some cross chopping going on.
There's a lot of cross chopping.
I will say the one-on-ones are really fun for the offensive linemen. If you watch those at camp,
and they get upset. They start to get upset.
I don't know about that.
I think that's where a lot of fights.
There's an element of frustration.
They originate in there.
Oh, okay.
They start down in the dark.
It's just fun to watch them.
Yeah.
Who do you got, Phil?
I'm going to say my competition to watch is going to be at that safety position between Kareem Jackson and Keenan Stearns. I think that Caden, when he's been healthy, he's shown that he's got a knack to make big plays. He has a nose for the football, and I think that he's heading into year 3, I believe. This is time for him to. Sometimes there's
the next step.
Yeah, well, the NFL, they say that stands for not for long. That's what they say.
Who's they? Not you, but they.
Yeah. Many people.
I would never say something like that. No. I do think that a lot of guys, when they get drafted, they come into the league, they think that they're going to have this really long career. But sometimes it happens really fast, you know. And I think that Caden, a guy heading into year 3, this is sort of the time that you got to make a statement and be like, I deserve to be on the field more. I need to be out there. Make it so that the coaches can't take me off the field, that type of thing. I think that if Caden wants to be a long-time player in this league, which it seems like he does, it seems like that, right? Wouldn't you say? This would be the year. This would be the year, I think. So the Broncos did bring back Kareem Jackson, though, late in the process. But Kareem obviously is a veteran, super, super smart, makes those big, physical, tough plays. You know, he's been healthy. Kareem Jackson, I think, played in every game last season. So it's going to be tough to try and get Kareem off the field, but that competition is something I'm going to be paying attention to.
Yeah, it's probably one of the only competitions for a starting job, right?
I would say that that's a competition.
Yeah, you know, at least kind of what we expect. There's a few things that we just don't know. One, do the Broncos think Caden Stearns is ready to start?
Yeah,
like if he's healthy, do they think that he's at that point? Because Vance Joseph obviously knows Kareem Jackson, coached him for a couple years there, right?
Well, the way I think about it is like there's a reason they brought Kareem back.
Yeah, of course. You're not going to bring Kareem back just for the sake of doing it.
Yeah.
So one, is Caden ready? 2, what do they want back there? Do they want 2 ball hawk type guys? I mean, Caden Stearns showed against the Colts he can make a big impact, but do you need a physical guy that can come down and set the tone? That's a big part of what Kareem does.
Can Caden do that?
Right. And then if Caden becomes the choice there, you know, if it is a competition and he ends up earning the starting job, what does Kareem's role look like? Is he okay with that? This is a guy that has started a lot of football games and been the guy for a long time. Is he okay with a diminished role? Those are things that you'll kind of have to watch out for. I would still say, like, as the incumbent, I would think Kareem has a little bit of an edge, but certainly the type of player Caden Stearns is, you want to find ways to get him on the field. So if that's playing more dime, because certainly if you play nickel, you would think that K'Wan Williams is the nickel guy there. So do you have to play more dime to get Caden Stearns on the field?
There, yeah.
Which then leaves you a little bit susceptible
to the run.
We know Vance Joseph's defense, a little more attacking, has been better against the run than the Broncos have been the last few years. So maybe there's some schematic things that can help for that. But this is a whether you want to call it a battle or just a way to get them both out there, something that's going to impact the way the Broncos play defense. And so that's where it could get interesting. And the other thing in camp is Kareem is an older guy. You don't necessarily want him out there
practicing all
the time. And so Caden Stearns should get the opportunity to show what he can do. You know, we may not know until week 1 what that looks like. Like I would think Kareem would get some reps in the preseason, but I don't know if we'll know fully kind of how that's going to play out until late on in the process.
We've talked a lot about Caden, you know, and like, is he ready to take that jump? There's also the Kareem factor here too, because you look at like the trajectory of Kareem's career. Started out at cornerback, then moved over to safety, and then now you're wondering, okay, does he still have that explosiveness? Does he still have that athletic, that first step? Is he still Kareem Jackson, the great player that we know he can be? You know, as you get later and later in your career, you know, the player, of course, thinks that they're still that guy, but it takes time. Like, I always feel like guys, like when their athleticism starts to wane a little bit, you know, like they never realize that it's going. It always takes a little bit of time, you know. Is Kareem there yet or not? You know, that's also sort of that question needs to get answered too here. So there's the Kareem side and the Caden side. I think you're hoping that Kareem is really good and Caden's really good, and then you have a tough decision to make.
Yeah.
You don't want it to be too easy, I don't think.
So good to have 2 good players.
In this situation, yeah,
okay.
that is a good thing.
Just making sure I'm following.
sometimes if you have two good guys, you don't really have any guys. You know,
I do think something to consider is the overall chemistry of the secondary. You know, when they're out there, how does this all fit together? What is this?
Because Justin, he could do like a little wink to Kareem, and he's like, "Oh, I know what that means." Boom, interception.
Exactly.
They do that play. They do the wink.
The wink interception play.
Should do that all the time.
That's a how do the skill sets mesh together? All that sort of thing will come into play, I'd imagine.
Because we heard like Josie Jewell and Alex Singleton talk about that.
Yep.
Hey, we're back together.
That's right. Back together.
The winks. You do a wink, boom. Josie Jewell intercepts Patrick Mahomes.
Twice.
And then you just do that. That's kind of the chemistry.
Kind of went right to him.
Yeah.
Got him.
Yeah. Do you think there'll be any competition with Drew Sanders and one of those guys?
I think he feels like a guy that could maybe get out there in like a sub package situation immediately.
What if he's so good that they're like, we can't take this guy off?
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah. Some talent there. Yeah. He could be a guy that creates competition. Maybe there's not a competition now, but he creates one.
Smart.
You ever think about that?
Could be.
It's sort of a dark horse.
Yeah.
Swanson, your competition?
I mean, I'll go with the outside linebackers. Like, I think we know, or at least it seems that Frank Clark is going to be the starter opposite of Randy Gregory. But the depth there, you always can use as many of those pass rushers as possible. I want to see how Nick Bonito's, looking to progress from his rookie season. Baron Browning, we haven't seen during the offseason program. So his kind of status, I want to know more about. He was obviously electric last year at times. So they have some good players back there. I just want to see
what
how
about
that
Agent Zero?
out. Yeah, Jonathan Cooper.
Chris Allen.
Yeah.
The thing there at outside linebacker is going to be more about what the rotation is as opposed to do you make the team. Just because there's not as many guys there.
Yeah.
At least at the moment. Like it feels a little light potentially.
Well, do you think that they're not going to keep 6?
You
think they'll keep 6?
Some teams keep 5 or 6. I mean,
5 maybe, yeah.
But like Nick Bonito, I would think would still make the team. It feels like Baron Browning, if he's healthy enough, will make the team or be on,
I think those 4 guys are there.
Yeah, and so then it's if you keep 5, I would assume Jonathan Cooper has an advantage just because he's played more. It's not like there's 10 guys there that there's some undrafted guys because he did not draft somebody, right? So it's undrafted guys. Can they make an impact and push a Jonathan Cooper or can Chris Allen push? It's not as many big names or like guys that they've invested in the way that like a wide receiver is, for example.
Yeah. But when they bring in a guy at your position so late in the offseason, you start to worry. You say, hey, do I still have a spot?
Yeah, but this is like 2 guys for 1 spot maybe, or 3 guys for 1 or 2 spots. Whereas a receiver is like 6 guys for 1 spot.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
It's a little.
I agree.
Yeah. And I am also like,
competition.
This isn't necessarily a competition just because there's no other kicker on the roster, but I am interested to see how that kind of shakes out. If they end up sticking with
It's a hedge. That's a good hedge.
Elliott Fry, I'm talking about, he's kind of gone from team to team. So his experience, I mean, he's been around the NFL for a while, but he hasn't played a ton. So I want to see how that ends up if they bring in another guy to compete during camp. Something to watch.
It's definitely a thing where you do what you do out of the practice field, but then when you get into a stadium, those lights turn on. It's a different thing. Yeah, it's a different thing.
Oh my gosh, that's really bright.
Yeah.
Bright lights.
And if you feel the heat from those lights, some sweat comes down, it gets it, you're about to kick the ball. My eyes. And then who knows what happens. But the nice thing about kicker, as Sean Payton said, is it either goes in or it doesn't.
That's true.
So
that's a good point.
We'll all know. It's not like the interior. We know
what's going on with the kicking.
Say if you hit the ball and no dirt and it goes right through the uprights, good. If you hit some dirt, the ball goes a little, maybe it's short, maybe it goes off to the side.
Bad. Keep that in
We
mind.
know those things.
Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the Broncos, there are some veteran guys out there, guys who've kicked a lot, but they're a little bit older. I don't know. You have to think about that. Maybe you consider that. Maybe with the way that the kickoff is now, maybe it's not as important to just, who knows? There's just a lot of different things going on there.
You'll be
Special teams.
sitting here the next week just thinking about the kicker.
Yeah. So we'll have to see. Maybe Ben Kotwika has got some big decisions. Westhoff. These are the big names the Broncos have brought in to cure special teams. So we'll see what happens. You excited for the start of camp?
Yeah, let's get to
You
it.
got any shout-outs you want to get to?
Oh,
There's Gerald's, of course.
of course. Community never sleeps.
It doesn't.
Nope.
They're about to ramp things up here with the guys coming back. It's been quiet in the building.
Sleepy.
Sometimes sleepy. But it'll be nice to have them back.
Nice to have
the
everybody
energy
back.
come back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the energy.
Get after it.
Any other shout-outs? We already shout out the month of July.
That was last week.
Yeah, so you can't.
What's
Can't
your
do that.
favorite day of the year?
Ooh. I don't know.
No, I'm just joking.
I don't know. What's your favorite day?
I don't know.
This is bad podcast.
Calendar podcast.
All right.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for us. We'll be back next week. Right
Who
before.
knows what's gonna happen?
Who knows what's going to happen? I mean,
Yeah.
it'll be craziness next week. So we're excited. We're excited to get this thing rolling. For Ben Swanson and Aric DiLalla, I am Phil Milani. You've been listening to
The Neutral Zone.